2026 was supposed to be the year for the Bitcoin breakout, but instead, after hitting an all-time high of 126K, Bitcoin has crashed back to 63K, and everyone I know is asking two questions. Is Bitcoin's price being manipulated, and is it over?
Okay, so what's holding down the price? I think what holds down the price of the asset is...
Today, I'm going to walk you through why I think Bitcoin's price has been suppressed. We're going to connect the dots between what this Bitcoin billionaire is saying and AI disrupting markets, Wall Street manipulation, and why they're afraid of Bitcoin. And we're going to take you behind the scenes of the shadow banking industry rehypothecating Bitcoin, which is artificially suppressing the price. Stick around and I'll show you why this short-term price suppression creates an opportunity for you to 10x, 20x, or 30x your money. Don't fall for the trap. This is the signal from the noise. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Let's go.
Yeah, it looks too good to be true. I don't trust it. And then you're going to have to explain why it's trustworthy. And then they're going to disagree with you and they're going to heap scorn on you. And then you're going to have to keep coming back because that's just the way the world is. And 30 years after this podcast, everybody will go like, oh yeah, digital money, of course. Of course we want that. Do you like electricity? Yeah. Do you like cars? Yeah. Do you like fire? Yeah. Do you like antibiotics? Sure you do, right? Do you like television and radio? Yeah. How about airplanes? Sure. Was there a time when all of these things were in disrepute and created incredible fear, uncertainty, and doubt? Every one of them.
This is exactly my explanation to people about Bitcoin right now. They don't understand that every new innovation goes through these cycles, these valleys of pain. This is the evolution. Disruption always creates dislocation, and this creates investment opportunities. And people think this is just happening with Bitcoin in the traditional financial system right now. It's not. It's way bigger than that. There was absolute chaos, blood, and mayhem in the streets of markets yesterday. Trillions of market cap were wiped out from a Substack article from a research firm called Citrini. Every hedge fund guy is yelling at their interns like, who the hell is Citrini? Their author laid out a story as to why AI disrupts everything by 2028. And the share price of every company or category that was mentioned in the article crashed immediately. Claude created a security vulnerability tool yesterday, and security software stocks were absolutely destroyed. They also released a tool to help streamline cobalt coding, to which every developer who's ever worked for a banking firm said hallelujah out loud. But IBM stock fell 10% in minutes. You have to understand that all of these security stocks are not going to go to zero. You have to discern what's what, which brings us back to Bitcoin. One of the things that's clear right now is the existing system is fighting, and there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt around Bitcoin. You have to understand that Wall Street is paying firms to come up with legal opinions to help people come up with a compromise. Here's a clip from a senior White House official that's showing that Wall Street is doing everything that they can to suppress innovation in financial markets.
My job is to get a bill to the president's desk. Now, that is not a bill at any cost, but understanding that the democratic process works in a way that there's going to have to be compromises, and on all issues, individuals are going to have to give, and depending on their perspective, it might not be perfect, but let's not let perfect be the enemy of the good here. There's a lot of great aspects to this bill, totally separate and apart from the stablecoin issue here. And, if we can solve this issue in a way that narrowly addresses the issue that the banks have raised, but also permits stablecoins to be the amazing innovation that they are, and we want to encourage their growth, not only domestically, but internationally, then let's keep the overall picture in mind here. And let's see if we can find something that both sides can live with here.
He says that people are going to have to come to the table and people are going to have to compromise. What does he mean and who does he mean? Well, he means that Wall Street banks are going to have their profit center and their monopoly destroyed by stablecoins. The money flows and the lack of transparency that once dominated financial markets in Wall Street and gave the banks an unfair advantage are now going to be brought to the light with stablecoins, removing the power from corporations and giving them to individuals. And so that's why crypto firms are going to have to come to the table and find the common good for everybody. Reading between the lines, it's just Wall Street trying to keep the privileges that other firms and individuals don't have. Market makers like Jane Street have been manipulating the market for years, and it's evident that they've been trying to destroy crypto from behind the scenes. New information is coming out that they actually were manipulating Terraform, or the Luna Ponzi scheme, from behind the scenes to illegally profit from insider trading. But this leads me to think that this wasn't just happening in Luna, and that this could still be happening in Bitcoin. In the interview of the year between Natalie Brunell and Michael Saylor, which I highly encourage you to watch the full thing from beginning to end, Well, Michael Saylor highlights exactly what happens behind the scenes in these unregulated markets. They rehypothecate your Bitcoin because there aren't normal channels for people to borrow against their Bitcoin bags. Listen to this shocking news.
You go to a crypto exchange or an OTC exchange, and they'll oftentimes give you a loan at 4% or 3% or 5% or 2%. I've had people offer me Bitcoin-backed credit at 1% or 0%. What's the catch, Natalie?
Right. That's the question.
There's always the catch is they want me to transfer the Bitcoin to them so they can rehypothecate it.
Right.
So if you have $10 million, you either cannot get a loan from a legitimate bank, or you can get a small loan at a 10% interest rate, or you can get a 3 or 4% loan, but then it gets rehypothecated. So your $10 million of Bitcoin gets sold once, gets sold twice, gets sold 3 times. You might actually create $30 or $40 million worth of selling because the Bitcoin that you posted that you transferred to the shadow bank or the crypto exchange rehypothecated it 3 times. Okay, so what's holding down the price? I think what holds down the price of the asset is the lack of a fully formed non-rehypothecating credit system, right? And there's a limit to how much you can rehypothecate certain other assets, right? When you post your home as collateral for a mortgage, the bank doesn't turn around and sell the house on your street 10 times. If they did, the price of houses on your street would be lower, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that the lack of a fully formed banking system holds the price back. The existence of rehypothecation in the crypto economy damps the vol. It works to both sides, right? When people want to get short, they might get short 50x leverage. When they want to get long, they might get long 50x leverage. So right now we're in that bear market where you've got the rehypothecation holding back the price. And I think at some point it reverses itself. We'll just have to wait.
After we thank our sponsors, Michael Saylor goes deeper into the shadow banking system and why the major bag holders have nowhere to go to profit from their Bitcoin. Stick around. One of the things that we do is we like to bring you the best partners, the best vendors, and the best services in the world to help you on your Bitcoin journey. And there's no better place than Ledn, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. They allow you to borrow against your Bitcoin without selling your Bitcoin. They're bringing institutional-grade products to the markets that Michael Saylor was just talking about in this previous clip, so that you can have a reputable place where you can borrow from your Bitcoin without selling it. You can borrow up to 50% loan-to-value from your Bitcoin with no credit checks, and you can do so in just minutes. Fiat gets in your account in less than 6 hours, and rates start at just 12.4%. It's the fastest and most institutional-grade product on the market. Get started by going to learn.ledn.io/simply. One of the ways you can avoid rehypothecation is by becoming your own bank, where you can actually run your own node, lend your Bitcoin out on your own terms through a Lightning channel, and actually receive some dividends and rewards from that. Well, getting started on that journey just starts with you running your own node, privately, safely, securely. You can do that by getting a coach from the Bitcoin way. They'll show you how to set up your node, how to manage Lightning channels and swaps, and do all of these sorts of things. But the first step is just getting your private keys into a place that you own that are secure. Schedule a free 30-minute consultation with the team at thebitcoinway.com/simplybitcoin. So one of the big reasons as to why we are where we are is that the markets themselves don't allow for bag holders in the past to unlock liquidity in their Bitcoin. If you have large pools of Bitcoin, well, you have to go to unregulated or shadow banking markets, which don't give you the amount of access and liquidity that you actually want. And they do so at rates that are expensive. And this is creating dislocation in the markets. This is allowing people who don't want to sell their Bitcoin, who still believe in the long-term thesis of their Bitcoin, to not access capital from their Bitcoin. This is what wealthy people have done from the beginning of time. They never sell their assets. They put them in trusts and they borrow against them. Elon Musk actually doesn't have a lot of money or physical cash in his bank accounts. He has Tesla stock. He has SpaceX stock. He has stock in private companies and corporations that he's invested in, and he borrows against it. This is the way that the world works, whether we like it or not. And the same thing is happening right now in Bitcoin, except there's no access to liquidity from reputable sources. And this is why Michael Saylor talks about the shadow banking system.
What you have at the top of the market is $2 trillion worth of Bitcoin. Probably 1.8 trillion held by retail investors or offshore investors, and they cannot access the traditional banking system. They're in the shadow banking system. So if you had $1.8 trillion or more than $1 trillion worth of capital, and no one would give you a loan on it, then how do you monetize it, right? If I posted $10 million of Apple stock with JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley, I could take a $5 million loan at SOFR plus 50 basis points and I could spend it. But you can't even post $10 million worth of Bitcoin with JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley right now. Therefore, you can't take a loan. Therefore, you have to go to a shadow banking system. You have to go offshore. So how would you actually monetize it? You either have to sell it, right? The safe way is to sell it, but that damps the upside. What else can you do? You can, by the way, you can get loans, a very small amount of loans from a few crypto exchanges where they don't rehypothecate your Bitcoin, but the sum of that capital is a few $1 billion probably. So maybe there's a few $1 billion of Bitcoin credit that you can tap at SOFR plus 500 basis points or SOFR plus 400 basis points. Okay, this not SOFR plus 40, SOFR plus 400. So it's 10 times as expensive to actually draw down capital. And how much capital? 1/1000th of the amount of capital available for securities portfolios. So there's 1% or less of the capital available through the conventional banking system. It's expensive, okay?
And right now, this disruption is happening in the markets. Markets are able to be artificially suppressed and prices are able to be artificially suppressed because there aren't means to regulated markets where normal things like this can allow trillions of capital to flow into Bitcoin like they do in other capital markets. But this is your opportunity. Michael Saylor talks about what the world's going to be like for people like him and Natalie Brunell and people who watch this show in 30 years, how you're going to be able to 10x, 20x, and 30x your money. Because every new innovation goes through the valley of despair. The question is, are you willing to stomach that? What's your time horizon? And so that's why this short-term price suppression doesn't matter. We're at 63K, sure, but that pales into comparison as to what we will be in 10, 20, and 30 years. Bitcoin will be synonymous with fire, electricity, and of course, digital money as we move into a digital future in a digital world. The future is obvious. We could have seen it in hindsight. The question is, are your eyes open to it?
You had enough to know that Amazon was unstoppable a decade before the world agreed. You had enough insight to know that Apple was unstoppable 7 years before, probably 10 years, actually in 2009, 11 years before the world agreed, you knew it was unstoppable. You have enough information to know that Bitcoin is unstoppable right now. The world's going to eventually come to a consensus, and it'll be the Warren Buffetts and the Carl Icahns of the world that will be what creates that consensus. They won't be first. They'll be last. They won't make a huge amount of money. They'll double or triple their money, right? And they will enter, and the PD goes from 10 to 30. They triple their money in a 12-month time period. And if you're able to think for yourself, and if you're able to weather volatility, you can 10x, 20x, 30x on your investment. But there really is no example of a successful technology investment where you didn't have to weather the 45% drawdown and go through that valley of despair, right? Ours is currently taking 137 days so far. But you know, it might take 2 years, it might take 3 years, it might take 4 years. If it took 7 years, congratulations. It's just like Apple Computer, the biggest success story of the decade.
And if your eyes are open to it, then you should consider multiple ways to continue acquiring digital capital. One would be buying through spot. One would be working for Bitcoin and earning Bitcoin through services and hard work. The other way is going to be to give your capital to a firm like SAS Mining. They're going to lock in the cheapest rates and they're going to manage all of it for you. But what's going to happen is sats are going to flow directly to your wallet from your mining rig that they manage and they host. Simple, easy way to stack sats. Use the QR code to get started with SAS Mining today and start earning your way into the digital money future that we're moving into. So 10, 20, 30 years from now, you're going to be one of the people that Michael Saylor talked about who's not working. These are my thoughts on what's happening in markets right now. Why AI is showing us that disruption and dislocation happens in all markets and not just Bitcoin. Why non-traditional financial markets are what's keeping Bitcoin's price suppressed. And what Wall Street is actually saying is that they're more afraid of Bitcoin than they're actually admitting. Behind closed doors, they're trying to come to settlements. They're afraid. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Happy stacking.